A fractured relationship with some teachers in school districts, anger over teacher evaluations, school grades, and standardized tests, a court decision forcing millions more in spending to ensure a sufficient education for all students. Taking over New Mexico's public school system might not be a job many educators would accept. Karen Trujillo did. NMIF executive producer Kevin McDonald talked with the new education secretary this week about her choice and what's ahead.
Dr. Karen Trujillo, thank you so much for joining us here in studio today. You know, there was so much focus on this appointment, your appointment to the Secretary of Education after Michelle Lujan Grisham won the election last year. It's been a tumultuous few years in terms of education, especially the PED's relationship with schools. Why was this a job you wanted to take on?
Well, I think it's just one of those opportunities that if it's given to you, and I just really want to thank the governor, first of all, for trusting me and the wonderful team of people that we have with this endeavor. It is something that, you know, being in the education arena in New Mexico for the past 20 years, you know, as a teacher, as an administrator, most recently I was at New Mexico State doing a lot of research on the teacher pipeline issues, teacher vacancy rates, all of those different challenges, right? We have a ton of different challenges. And like my family, when I talked with my husband and my kids, I said, you know, I brought this up and I said, look, like I have this opportunity to become the Secretary of Education, but that means that I'm gonna have to move from Las Cruces. It means that it's gonna, you know, make a big shift in our family life. And they said, but Mom, this is what you've been working for your whole life. Without even really knowing it. I can't remember a time where I ever thought that this would be an opportunity that I would be able to take advantage of, but when it came, it was just kind of one of those things that said, look, this is the right time, you have the right governor, you have the right circumstances, people are willing to put funding into education. There's a lot of things shifting both at the state level and the national level that really need attention. And it's just an opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity, an opportunity for that shift in changing the narrative of what it means to be an educator, and really to provide students with opportunities that maybe they don't necessarily see because they've spent so much time in a certain mindset, and now it's really an opportunity to kind of shift what that means to be educated in New Mexico and providing students with a vision of what opportunities are available for them if they are able to, you know, get through high school, get to one of the universities here in New Mexico, and really engaging that business community to say, all right, these are the opportunities that you have here, so that we don't have to send our students away. We can just provide them with a picture of all of the opportunities that they have here. So it was something that, you know, one of those opportunities in your life that you just you can't turn down.
And you've been quoted as saying that your top priority going in is to rebuild the relationship between the school districts and the Department of Education. What does that look like, and what are you doing about that right now?
Thankfully, before I came into this role, I was very much involved with the New Mexico Coalition of Education Leaders. I was on their board, and essentially that's, you know, the Superintendent's Association, but it's also, you know, the New Mexico Bilingual Association and the secondary school principals, elementary school principals, all of the RECs, so the regional education cooperatives. So it's essentially like the leadership from all of those education arenas, NMAA, CES. So I had already started developing those relationships. So when I came on board, those already existed. I already know all of those people. And on the other hand, also have relationships with the union folks. So I know Mary Parr Sanchez. I've worked with her for many years in Las Cruces. She's the incoming NEA president, you know, Stephanie Lee. And so on both sides, we already have those relationships. They'd already been developed. And so now it's just like, all right, what can we all agree on and what can we do moving forward? And essentially it's just kind of saying, like, you know, changing the idea of that it's the PED's responsibility, or it's the school's responsibility, or it's the teacher's responsibility to do all of these things. No, it's all of our responsibility. And that includes, you know, businesses, municipalities, counties, the state government, other agencies. So it's not just repairing that relationship with districts and PED, but building those relationships with, you know, districts, PED, HED, Workforce Solutions, the governor's office, and again, like I said, communities saying, you know, these are our New Mexico children. And all of us need to work together to figure out what it is that we're going to do.
Most of the research you did in now your past life had to do with studying the teacher shortage. Is that really a big piece of solving this problem? I know there's raises that were approved during the legislative session, but we have situations where we've heard about here in Albuquerque Public Schools where they're recruiting teachers from the Philippines just to try to have the staffing they need. What's at the heart of that, and what can we do to make a change there quickly?
So I think there's two different routes. So you have your short-term solutions and you have your long-term solutions, right? So like recruiting teachers from the Philippines, I mean, that's a short-term solution. That's something that like, okay, we need to fill positions right now. And that's probably going to have to be a solution for a couple of years. The other thing is I think we have a lot of licensed teachers or a lot of people that hold teaching licenses that have left the classroom for various reasons. So it's a matter of inviting them back and say like, look, come and give us a chance to see what it is that we have to offer, things that are different. I think the raises will make a big difference in terms of retention. But the long game is really saying if we want our teachers, our teaching force to look like the students in the classrooms, we have to recruit them at 15, 16, 17 years old. So a lot of the work I did in the research arena was really trying to identify the problem. So in 2014, I was looking for that answer. Well, how many teacher vacancies are there? And nobody had the answer. Nobody from NMPED had the answer. The legislature's like, well, this national report says, but nobody was actually doing the research. So I started looking around the country, and in Minnesota, biannually, they have to report, do a comprehensive report on, retirements, on the teacher pipeline, like on all of the different areas that deal with the teacher shortage, I guess. And there was nothing like that. So we said, okay, then we'll do the research. I'll call every superintendent. Well, how many openings do you have? What areas are they in? We started doing that in about 2015 just to identify the issue. But it's not enough to stop there. It's like, okay, but then what's our solution? The other thing we found was that there was no career technical organization for educators in New Mexico. So you have BPA, DECA, HOSA for Future Health. There was nothing for educators. So we also started Educators Rising, which is that high school organization for students that want to be teachers. And believe it or not, there are hundreds of them, but they don't ever get that message of this is a viable career, this is something you really ought to be looking at, this is your pathway to do that. So we started Educators Rising, and it went from, I think, initially we identified 6, 2 of which were here in Albuquerque, and now there's over 40 chapters across the state, over 600 students that are engaged. The last state conference, there were 250 students that were there, and every single one of them has already said, yeah, I want to be a teacher.
Yazzie Martinez
Yes.
is something that lingers over you as you start. There was a deadline issued by the judge for an update about a week ago, 2 weeks ago here, and now it's kind of in a mode where the judge is just waiting to hear from either side on how things are going. What are your takeaways from the legislative session in terms of how you think the state and your department is dealing with the things that were
Addressed.
Yes.
So so I know that there's 2 sides, right? So some are saying like, oh, this is great, so much happened, and then the other side is, well, you just got us back to 2008 levels. Like so both of those sides of the argument, and both of which have merit, right? So for us, we look at it and say, but it is such a tremendous foundation that we've laid for addressing the issues that were brought up by the Yazzie Martinez, and really it's Martinez-Yazzie court case. But so we see it as a foundation. Like everybody's saying, well, you didn't do as much as you could have. And you said, yeah, but there's also roads that need to be built and all of these other things that have to happen. And, the pie is this big. We got a pretty good chunk of that pie. So we just see it as really a good foundation of which we can launch and look at, okay, and next year we're going to add the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. And it's not all about money. And I think that's what a lot of people get caught up on. So for us, it's really just kind of taking the way that we are looking at what's expected in schools, really identifying a multicultural framework, a lens with which we look through when we are looking at program, when we're looking at funding different initiatives, the idea of, as we look at new schools, saying, no, you have to have that multicultural framework. What is it that you're doing to address? What kind of instructional materials are you adopting? So that it's on the forefront. So when we're looking at the money that went into like the at-risk index, for example, what are you doing with that money? Are you hiring reading coaches? Are you doing, do you have additional counselors? Are you doing, offering the supports for those students that were identified? What are you doing at the district level? So our job is to really kind of ensure that all of those things are taking place at the local level. And we're excited about that opportunity. We also have like a worksheet that internally we're working through and saying, all right, this is what the judge said. Where are we here? Are we very actively involved in this particular space, or is this one area where we need help? And so we're kind of tracking internally so that we can kind of look at our progress. And that's something that we're excited about because once the problem's identified, then you can identify solutions and figure out how you get from here to here.
What happens if the plaintiffs come back and say it wasn't enough? I've heard comments there that it is about the dollar amount. That is the equalizer here. And I know the governor's on record as saying she's not excited about the idea of the courts overseeing the PED.
Right.
We're still living under the Duran consent around corrections. What's the backup plan here?
Well, I mean, we're addressing it as we can, and we work actually like with the, we don't speak with the lawyers, we don't get into the legal arguments, but we communicate with those that are the advocates on that side. So we work closely, kind of saying throughout the legislative session, we were meeting regularly, kind of looking at different things. I think one of the big pieces is, again, just reframing what the expectations are, really looking at the multicultural aspect, really doing a deep dive into special education services, trying to identify, a needs assessment for Native American children. That's something that we're going to be doing over the next year. So again, it's really starting at that foundational level and saying, what are those issues that we can identify, that then we can identify metrics that we can kind of track our progress. And I think that's something that just was missing in the past. It wasn't, when the court decree came down, like there are some things that are very clear, there are some things that are kind of fuzzy, but identifying what those areas are, what the metrics are, and how we can track our progress. And at this point, that's our plan moving forward. That's where we're taking advantage and seeing it really as an opportunity for improvement.
Switching gears now, one of the first things that the governor did when she took office was issue an executive order about the PARCC testing, the standardized testing. And I know students everywhere rejoiced and then came down to earth when they realized there's still going to be something, it's just not going to be this test. So where are you guys in terms of creating the new replacement test of PARCC?
So believe it or not, kids are testing right now. Have we heard? I mean, we haven't heard anything about it, right? There hasn't been anything really in the news.
In my household, I've heard it from my kids.
You've heard it from
yes.
your kids, but there hasn't been, people out like, with pickets. I mean, that hasn't happened. So even just that, right? Looking at assessment for what it's meant to be. Where are we at as a school? Where are we at as a school district? And saying like, what is our curriculum? Is it moving forward? Is it what it's supposed to be? So, again, this is another one of those challenges that's also a huge opportunity. So we have an assessment task force. They met, I believe it was last week, maybe the week before. We have about 44 people. We had 320 people that were nominated, and then we kind of chose various sectors to make sure that everybody was represented. And I sat in, they had a 2-day conversation that was facilitated by the Center for Assessment, and rich conversations. I mean, we went out to 10 different communities and just got stakeholder feedback. So from teachers, from parents, from kids, saying what should the assessment look like? By law, we have to have an annual assessment. I mean, I took it all the way through school. You probably did too. And it was just one of those things that you did, right? It wasn't like that high stakes.
Right.
The teachers weren't totally stressed. Kids weren't on the side throwing up because it was something that was so stressful. So I think it's really taking assessment back to the place where it should be and really looking at, I want to know where I'm at as a student. What are the things I'm doing really good at? What are the things that I need to improve? As a teacher, I always wanted to know that information. when I was, because I was a math teacher, right? You're like, all right, my kids knew these 5 concepts. Oh yeah, this one they didn't do very well. And then you go back and say, well, why not? And you're like, oh, well, they took the test in April. I didn't teach that till May. So really trying to figure out how to use assessment for teaching and learning and how it impacts curriculum and professional development, rather than it being something that impacts a teacher's livelihood, right? Because if a teacher's totally stressed about the fact that their students are or are not performing, of course that goes to the students. And then the students take it home to their parents. And it just becomes this huge monster that we need to control. So, I mean, we were very grateful, really, for the governor taking that step. And whether or not she would have done that, like the old assessment was gone. I mean, the consortium was over. New Mexico was one of the last states kind of hanging on to that. So we're in the same arena with multiple states that are transitioning away. So that's what we're doing over the next few months. That task force really kind of gave a lot of feedback, trying to figure out what that looks like. Are we going to be able to do, beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year? Are we going to keep, end of course testing? Looking at high school, like that's the day that I sat in, they were talking about high school level, really looking at, well, does ACT and SAT make more sense than a separate? Because 67% of our kids already do that. Maybe that makes the most sense. So we're really trying to kind of open up the space to all of the different possibilities, and I think we're on the right road. So we will definitely have a plan in place now, and then a test in place that we'll be able to move forward with in the fall.
Dr. Karen Trujillo, time goes too quick. We are out of it for this time. Hope to have you back soon to talk about some more of these issues, but
Great.
appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.